Hello everyone and welcome back to Sade Crochets. So for this one-piece bikini, we are going to be using an F hook, which is a 3.75 millimeter hook. And then I'm going to be using a medium weight 4 yarn. This is Yarn Bee Secret Soft in the color Biscuit. And that is a medium weight 4. And then you'll also need a pair of scissors, and if you choose to alter this, you might need a measuring tape. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is make our slip knot. And this one-piece bikini is for sizes small through 1X. So the beginning of this pattern is the same for all of the sizes, and the sizes vary in the amount of repeats that you're going to do. So we're going to start with the back side of the bikini bottom portion. So we're going to go ahead and chain out 8 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And from there, we're going to skip this first chain because that's going to be a turning chain for us. And then we're going to single crochet into the second stitch from the hook. From there, we're going to skip 2 and put 5 double crochets or a shell in this next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And from there we're going to skip the next 2 stitches and put a single crochet into that last stitch, and that is row 1. So from here we're going to chain 2 and turn. And in this very first stitch here, we're going to do another shell. So we'll do 5 double crochets here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then from there we'll skip 2 and single crochet into the next stitch, which is also the middle stitch of the shell below. And then we'll skip 2 more and put another shell in that last stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and that's row 2. So from here we're going to chain 2 and turn. And in this very first stitch of row 3, we're going to put a half shell, and a half shell is just 3 double crochets into the same stitch. So I'm going to put 3 here. That's 1, 2, and 3. And from there we're just going to skip 1 and put a single crochet into the next stitch, skip 2 and put a shell into this single crochet below. So that's 5 here, 5 double crochets, 3, 4, and 5. And then from there we'll skip 2 and put a single crochet into the next stitch, and finally skip 1 and a half shell or 3 double crochets in that last stitch of the row. So that's 1, 2, and 3. and that's the end of row 3. Row 4, we're going to chain 1 and turn, and then in this first stitch we'll do a single crochet, skip 2 and a shell in the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then we'll skip 2 and single crochet, skip 2, shell, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then skip 2 and single crochet into that very last stitch. All right, so that's what it looks like so far. And now rows 5 through 7 are the beginning of our repeat rows. So row 5, we're going to chain 2 and turn. And in this very first stitch is similar to row 2. In this first stitch, we're going to put 5 double crochets or a shell in that first stitch. So this is kind of like our increasing row. 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to skip 2 and single crochet in the next stitch. Skip 2 and do a shell. Skip 2 and single crochet, and skip 2 and then put a shell in that last stitch. Two, 3, 4, and 5. So that was row 5. Row 6, we're going to chain 2 and turn. So here we're going to do a half shell in the first stitch. So put 3 double crochets here, 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to skip 1 and single crochet in the next stitch. Skip 2 and a shell in the next stitch. Three, 4, and 5, and then we skip 2, single crochet, skip 2 and shell. This yarn is so pretty to me, but it splits a lot. 1, 2, 3, whoops, 3, 4, and 5, and then skip 2, single crochet, skip one, and then a half shell in that very last stitch of this row. So 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. All right, and so that was row 6. And row 7 is chain 1 and turn. And then in this first stitch, we'll do a single crochet, skip 2, shell, it's 4 and 5. Skip 2, single crochet, skip 2, shell. And this is pretty much the repeat for row 7. So it's just single crochet, skip 2, shell, skip 2, single crochet. And keep repeating that until you get to the end of the row. Skip 2, shell, three, 4, and 5, and then skip 2, single crochet in the last stitch. So this is what it looks like so far. You can see that it is increasing right now. So we're just going to repeat rows 5, 6, and 7 until, so for size small, you repeat until you get to row 21, a medium until row 24, a large until row 26, and an extra large until row 28 is complete. So go ahead and continue this pattern until you reach that row. Also, you can try, I'm going to put some measurements up here about how long you want this to be. You could make it longer or shorter, but this is going to be half of your crotch length. So small is about 7 inches just for this back portion. Medium is about 8 inches, large is about 8.5, and an extra large is about 9. So go ahead and keep repeating, and I will meet you there at the end of that. All right, so you are going to continue rows 5, 6, and 7 until for size small is 7 inches. The size medium is 8 inches, a large is 8.5, and a 9 is 9.5. And for me to get to 7 inches for a small, I did 22 rows. For a medium, it should be about 25, a large would be 27, and an extra large would be about 29. And you can go in between these sizes. These are just general recommendations for me. So if you like your bikini bottoms to sit up a little bit higher, you can always make it, a little bit longer. Or if you like it lower, then maybe do a couple less rows. So that's always up to you. And let's start on the front side of the bikini now. So after your bikini back is long enough for you, go ahead and fasten off. So chain 1 and cut and tie off. And now we're going to start on the front. So usually I reattach my yarn just by tying a double knot. So I'm going to attach it to this slip stitch here and pull through and double knot. One and two. Let me close that back up. Okay. And I'm going to crochet over these tails as I go. So the first row in the front is going to be similar. So I'm going to insert my hook and pull up a loop and then chain one. Okay, in this first stitch, I'm going to put a single crochet, and then I'll skip two in that foundation chain there, and then put a shell in that next stitch. So I'm putting 5 double crochets there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then from there I'll skip 2 and single crochet into that last stitch there. And don't worry about these tails, we will fix those a little bit later. So that's the first row of the front, and now we're going to chain 2 and turn, and we're going to put a half shell into this very first stitch. So 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, skip 2, single crochet, skip 2 and half shell, 2 and 3. Okay, so from here what we're going to do is repeat row 1. So we're going to chain 1 and turn, single crochet, shell, skip 2 shell, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, skip 2 single crochet, and then we're going to repeat that second row again. So we're going to chain 2, turn, and do a half shell, 1, 2, 3, skip 2 single crochet, skip 2 half shell, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to repeat row 1 one more time. So chain 1, turn, single crochet, skip 2 shell, 3, 4, and 5, and then skip 2 single crochet. So that's what it looks like so far. And now from here, this front side is very similar to when we started increasing in the back. So in this next row, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2 and turn. And then we're going to put a full shell in this first stitch. So 5 double crochets here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Skip 2 single crochet, skip 2 shell, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So from here we're going to chain 2 and turn, and then we're going to do a half shell, 1, 2, 3, skip 1 single crochet, skip 2 shell, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, skip 2 single crochet, skip 1 and half shell. 1, 2, 3. All right, now we're increasing. So from here we're going to chain 1 and turn, and then do single crochet, skip 2, shell, 2, 3, 4, and 5, skip 2, single crochet, skip 2, shell, 2, 3, 4, and 5, skip 2, single crochet. So from here, we're going to do the same repeat that we did in the back. So we're going to chain 2. So these next 3 rows we're going to repeat, chain 2, turn, and we're going to do our full shell like we did before. Four and 5, full shell, skip 2, single crochet. So it's skip 2 shell, skip 2 single crochet, skip 2 full shell. And now from here we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, turn, and do a half shell. So that's 3 double crochets, skip 2, single crochet, nope, actually, sorry, skip 1, single crochet, skip 2, shell, 1, 2, I keep getting snagged, 3, 4, and 5. So we'll skip 2 single crochets, skip 2 shells, skip 2 single crochets, skip 1, and then half shell. All right, and then again the last row of our repeat is going to be chain 1, turn, and then we're going to single crochet, skip 2, shell all the way across. And skip 2 single crochet, skip 2 shell all the way across, and your last one will be a single crochet. So this pattern is going to continue to repeat. Go ahead and repeat this pattern until you also have, starting from this first row in the front, until you also have the same amount of rows that you had in the back side. So I did 22 here. I'm gonna do 22 repeats in the front side, or I'm gonna repeat until I reach row 22. So just do the same amount of rows that you did in the back, and I'll. All right, so this is what it looks like so far. When you fold it in half, you can see that the front is slightly thinner, less wide than the back, but also this halfway point here, when it's folded in half, these should be the same length and size. Okay, and so I went on ahead and marked off the first and the last stitch of this last row, because this is where the ties are going to be in the front, and we're going to keep working, so I don't want to have to like go back and count my rows. So you can use 2 stitch markers here if you would like. Other than that, to keep going, we're actually just going to continue this repeating pattern that we've been doing. Okay, so we're going to continue those 3 rows and keep repeating them. So in general, these are my recommendations. For size small and medium, you're going to continue this pattern for 25 more rows. And for medium, for large and extra large, you're going to continue this pattern for 27 more rows. Now, those are my recommendations. You do have to keep in mind that this stretches upwards a little bit. So if you are shorter, so let's talk about like where this is going to hit you. So as you're continuing to increase, you want to stop these increases right under the bust. So if you're taller or shorter, you can adjust this to fit you perfectly. You just have to stop your increases right under the bust, right where your band goes for the bra. So if you're making this for someone else, you can use those general measurements, but if you want, or those general recommendations, but if you want a more perfect fit and you have the person in front of you, or if it's for yourself, you can measure this up against yourself just to make sure that this torso area is long enough but not too long for you. Okay, so go ahead and continue increasing and I will meet you. All right, so I finished all my increases. I did 25 more rows of increases starting from this point where the tie is going to go. So that's kind of what it looks like so far. Really cute. And before we start with the top, we're going to go ahead and do our back ties, which go to these corners, and we're also going to do the ties for the bikini bottom portion before we do the top. And just because this is already attached to this spot, my yarn is all a mess. Okay, so from here what we're gonna do is first we are going to make a chain to go around the back. So for a size small, you can do 85 chains. A size medium, do 110 chains. A large can do 135, and an extra large can do 160. So from here, we're just going to go ahead and chain out the number of chains for your size, and I will meet you there and show you what's next. All right, so I went on ahead and chained out my 85 chains, and now from here what we're going to do is run back down this chain with slip stitches. So I'm just going to skip that first chain, insert my hook into the second chain, pull up a loop and slip stitch. And I'm just going to slip stitch all the way back down this chain until we reach the bikini bottom again. And this just reinforces the string, makes it look a little bit thicker, makes it look a little more high quality. So go ahead and finish slip stitching down this chain and I will meet you there. Okay, so I just have a few slip stitches left. 1 and 2. And then from there, I'm just going to single crochet into this same stitch, but on the side, going down the sides. So now I'm just going to single crochet along the sides of these rows. I don't really have a good recommendation for this because the sides of these rows kind of go into each other. So you're just going to have to space them out as best as you can. And I'm going to just single crochet all the way down the sides of these rows until I get to my stitch marker. so go ahead and continue single crochet border until we reach that point. All right, so I probably have like one more stitch before my stitch marker, one more single crochet. And so when you reach your stitch marker, you're going to want to chain 2 and go into like the next space beyond the stitch marker. So that is where we're going to stick our tie into that hole. So chain 2 and skip that chain space, and then just single crochet into like the next space by that chain space. So you're just going to have that little hole there, and that's where we're going to slide our tie through towards the front. And so from here we're just going to continue single crocheting until we reach the bottom corner. So we're going to go all the way down this edge until we get to this bottom corner, and I will meet you there. And I just wanted to point out another thing, depending on what side you're on. Before you, if you were on this side with these 2 tails, I would just make sure I pull these tails tightly closed before crocheting over either side. But if you're on this side, I would recommend to create like kind of like a knot here. So like I would just pull through like I'm chaining 1 and tying off just after I pull those secure, just so that they don't come out, or that slip knot over there does not come out. And I'm not sure which tail was which, so I'm gonna make a knot for both of them. Yeah, that's just to secure this little slip knot over here. So other than that, go ahead and continue and until we reach the corner. All right, so I single crocheted all the way down, and now I just have 1 corner stitch left. So I'm going to single crochet into that corner stitch first, and then I am going to make my chain for the back. So I would recommend for this chain, size small does 150, size medium does 160, size large can do 170, and 1X can do 180 chains here. So go ahead and chain this out, and then we will slip stitch back on down like we did before, and I'll meet you there. All right, so it looks like I just have 1 more slip stitch left, and then I'm going to slip stitch back into that very first corner stitch. So I'm just going to slip stitch in there, and then chain 1 and fasten off. And I'll have to weave that tail in a little bit later. All right, so we are fully lined on this one side, and we're going to do the second side, except we're going to start at the back portion because we want the border to be facing us on this same side. So we're going to start, instead of starting at the top, we're going to start at the back corner of the other side. So I'm going to take my new yarn and reattach here to this corner stitch. I'm just going to put a double knot here. One and 2. And then I'm going to start chaining out the same amount of chains I did for the back. So that was 150 for small, 160 for medium, 170 for large, and 180 for extra large. And then I'm going to slip stitch back down this tail, and I will meet you there. All right, so I have slip stitched all the way back down my chain, and I'm going to single crochet into this same corner stitch. And now I'm going to single crochet along the other side, and when I reach any tails, I'm gonna crochet over those, and I'm gonna go until I get to my stitch marker and then chain 2, and then I'm gonna come back up and hit this second corner and do this corner just like we did the last corner, except you want to make sure you do the same amount of strings or chains that you did on this other back tie. So those were, I think, 100 for small, 110 for medium, 135 for large, and 160 for 1X. So go ahead and finish this second side of ties and borders, and I will meet you there, and we'll begin on the top. All right, so I finished my second string, and I'm just going to go back into that same corner stitch here, slip stitch, and fasten off. Okay, so now we're going to start on the top portion of the bikini. And so right now you can tell that my last row was facing me. And we've been turning our work every other row, so I do want to turn this around because the next row is going to have to be turned, obviously, because this one was facing the other way. So from here we're going to reattach our yarn. So every size can do what I'm doing here as far as the reattaching. So even if you had a half shell as your last row, in your last row at the edge, that counts as a shell for what I'm talking about, because we're going to go in about 2 inches or so on all of the sizes before we reattach. So it's almost like 2 shells. So just go 2 shells in and then reattach in that second little valley there. Not on a peak, but in the valley. So I'm just going to reattach with the double knot here. One and two. And then I'm going to pull up a loop and chain 2. And then I'm going to do a half shell in this very first stitch. So I'm going to put 3 double crochets, 2 and 3, and I'm trying to crochet over this, but I think I'm going to end up weaving this one in. And then from there we're going to skip 2 and single crochet. Yes, skip 2 and single crochet, and then skip 2, shell, and from there the pattern is going to repeat. Skip 2, single crochet, skip 2, shell, and we're going to repeat that pattern until we get to the other side. Now you don't really have to mark this off because you can see it clearly. Just know in this last one we're going to put a half shell like we did in the first. So all in between is the same pattern, except when you get to this last stitch, then you do your half shell. Alright, so I finished this first row, and then from here we're going to chain 1 and turn. And now we are going to single crochet into the first stitch. Oops. Single crochet, and then skip 2 and shell. So So this row is pretty basic. It's just gonna be skip 2 single crochet, skip 2 shell, 1 2 3 4 5, and then skip 2 single crochet and skip 2 shell. So we are going to repeat this until the end of this row, and your last stitch should be a single crochet. So continue this pattern and I will meet you there. Alright, so I've completed my second row of the top portion, and now let's go on to row 3, and now we're going to start our decreases. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and from here I'm going to skip this first stitch, the very first stitch of the row, and then I'm going to do a 3-way decrease here. So I'm going to a 3-way single crochet decrease. So I'm going to insert my hook into the first stitch, pull up a loop, insert into the second stitch, pull up a loop, and insert into the third and pull up a loop. And you should have 4 loops on your hook, and then yarn over and pull through all 4. So that is turning 3 stitches into 1 stitch. And then from there I'm going to skip 2 and do my shell. 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then skip 2 single crochet, skip 2 and shell. So this pattern in the middle of this row is the same. You are skipping 2 single crochet, skipping 2 shell, and repeating that until we have 6 stitches left. So go ahead and repeat that until we have 6 stitches left, and I will meet you there. All right, so now I reached the next corner, the next side, and I have 6 stitches left. So from here, what we're going to do is skip 3 stitches this time. So 1 2 3, and then we're going to do a 3-way decrease in the last 3. So we're going to insert our hook, pull up a loop, insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and insert into that last stitch and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 4, and that is our next decrease. So from here we're going to chain 2 and turn, and this row is going to be that that half shell row again. So we're pretty much going to be repeating these 3 rows. I'm starting this top row 1 2 and 3. We're just going to be repeating those rows. So yes, we are going to be repeating these rows. Our next row will be the half shell row, and so for size small, you're going to repeat this these 3 rows 3 more times, or until row 12 is finished. Row 12 starting with this being row 1 down here. A medium is going to go until you complete row 15. A large is going to go until you complete row 17, and a 1X is going to do up into row 19. So go ahead and repeat this decreasing pattern, and I will meet you. All right, so this is what it looks like so far. I did my 12 rows, and I did mention in the notes that I didn't say it last time, but the 12 rows is more like an A-B cup. The 15 rows is more like a B or a C cup, like a larger B or a smaller C. The 17 rows is more like a larger C or a regular D cup, and then the 19 is more like a double D. Double D could probably do like 1 or 2 more rows. It just depends on really how big you are. But the purpose of this right here, this segment, is it needs to come above the nipple. So this is going to be the lowest part of this neckline. So you want it to at least cover that. So just make sure you can do 1 row more. You could do less if you want more cleavage out, as long as it covers you up. Okay, so that's the purpose of this segment here. But now moving forward, we are going to keep in line with the pattern that we've been doing. So depending on what row out of row 1 or 2 or 3 that you are in your repeat, you're going to continue that repeat. However, we're going to stop at the second shell. So I think one of the rows, if you did 17 rows, then you have like half shells in here. Count the 2 half shells as 1 shell. Like, you just want to go in probably about 2 inches only, is what I'm saying. So we're going in 2 inches, which is about 2 shells. So this next row, so I ended on my decreasing row, which is row 3 of the pattern. So now I'm going to start back at row 1. Okay, so I'm going to chain, I already chained 1, chain 2 and turn. And then I'm going to do my half shell. So everybody, some of the sizes are going to be on a different step, but I'm just kind of showing you it really doesn't matter as long as you stick to this pattern. So this repeat pattern of rows 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so I did my half shell, and I'm going to skip 2, do my shell, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, if you are a large or an extra large, you can do 3 shells here. For small and medium, do 2. So that's my first shell from the row below, and this is my second. So I'm almost done. Skip 2, single crochet. And so I'm gonna do at the end of this row what I would do here what I would do at the end of the row. So I'm on my half shell row, so I'm just gonna do a half shell here just to end this. And this is gonna be like the beginning of the strap. So that's kind of why we're stopping a little bit early, because now we're going to build up the strap. Okay, so from here we're going to continue with this pattern. So still keeping in line with repeating rows 1, 2, and 3. So now I'm on like my single crochet shell, I'm on row 2 of the pattern. So just continue this decreasing pattern. We're going to keep decreasing the small amount here until we have 1 shell left. So it should be single crochet, shell, single crochet, and that's it. So when you hit that row, I will meet you there. All right, so I finished that last row that has 1 shell. So this last row should be single crochet, shell, single crochet, not the decreasing 3-way decrease single crochet. That was 2 rows below. You don't want to stop on that one. Okay, but that's the beginning of our strap here. And so what we're going to do next is chain 1 and turn. And now we are going to put 1 decrease in the first 2 stitches, a single crochet decrease, and we're only doing that in the first 2 stitches here. So insert your hook and pull up a loop in both, and then pull through both or all three. Then we're going to put 3 single crochets in the next, 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches, and then 1 more single crochet decrease here. So insert your hook, pull up a loop, insert into that last stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3. And now we're going to chain 1 and turn. We're essentially doing the same thing, a single crochet decrease in the first 2 stitches, 1 single crochet in the middle, and then 1 more single crochet decrease here. Okay, now we have 3 stitches left. Chain 1 and turn. And now on this last row, we're going to do a 3-way single crochet decrease. So insert your hook into the first stitch, pull up a loop, insert into the second, pull up a loop, and insert into the last and pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through all 3, or all 4 stitches rather, and then chain 1, and we are going to fasten off here just like that. Okay, so that's the end of the first side. So we are going to do the second side here. And I'm just really big into keeping your rows in order because we turn our work a lot. So these stitches are facing us, so we know that we worked this side last time. So we're gonna have to turn our work to do this second side. Okay, so go ahead and turn, and wherever you ended off here, that's where you want to start here. So mine's is 2 shells in, so I'm gonna reattach my yarn to this single crochet that's here to start my other strap. So I'm gonna just double knot it here, and I'll redo this strap the exact same way that I did the first strap. Okay, so I will meet you there once you get your second beginning of the strap done. All right, we're on our home stretch. We're almost done. So we are going to reattach our yarn. So make sure that your border is facing you. You can tell this is the back of the stitches. So make sure you're crocheting on this side when you do this border. So we are going to now find the corner of where this strap is coming out, and we are going to reattach our yarn here and cover up any tails as we go, of course, to save us from more work. Okay, just double knot it here. And basically I'm just going to single crochet my way up to this top stitch here. So that's definitely something that you guys know how to do already. Just chain 1 and start single crocheting. When you get to the sides of rows, it'll be just like what we did before. So go ahead and single crochet your way up to that first peak of the first strap, and I will meet you there and show you what's next. Okay, so I single crocheted all the way up to the top point of this first strap, and from here we are going to start chaining out our neckties. So for a size small and medium, you can do 100 chains. For a large, you can do 125. and for 1x you can do 140. So we're going to chain